For my midterm presentation, I chose to cover the concepts of self-esteem, confirmation skills, and other orientation. Now, for my first slide, self-esteem. Self-esteem is really just the internal belief of an individual and how they perceive themselves and their own abilities. This affects a lot of people in the world and it's something that we all really have to go through. It's really just the evaluation of their own worth and self-respect. It's almost like the internal sense of being enough for themselves. Having high self esteem is extremely important because it's crucial to a person's mental state. It affects how they handle challenges, view themselves, their goals, and their own relationships with others. Lower rates of self esteem can lead to anxiety and depression. It's just really necessary to be able to feel good about yourself and believing that you can achieve anything you put your mind to. Self esteem shows up in my own life in many different ways. My self esteem is exactly why I hold myself to extreme standards and I set goals. I always remind myself that I can handle anything coming my way and that I'm very much enough for myself and the people around me. It really just helps me have a more positive outlook in my own life. Now, for confirmation skills, these are really just techniques used to engage and demonstrate understanding when communicating with other people. It just shows that you acknowledge them and are actively listening to what they have to say. You can really just assure this by using verbal or nonverbal cues, such as saying things like, I understand, you are right about that, or just maintaining eye contact while nodding. This is a really important skill to have because it's necessary in life to keep the conversations going with others. You should really have these skills because they create a more positive experience for you and the other person you're talking with. I use confirmation skills in my own life because they build trust and respect in my own relationships. If they see that I'm interested and actively listening to what they have to say, it just shows that I care and allows them to confide in me a little bit more. Overall, it just creates a more positive experience with time between them and I. Now for other orientation. Being other oriented means prioritizing others' personal needs and feelings before your own. This is a skill that really focuses on empathy. You try to put yourself in others' shoes to see how their perspective really matters in the situation and how they might feel. This is an important skill to have in life because it helps build an understanding of others. It improves communication by not pushing your own opinions or agendas on the other person, but instead allowing yourself to see their point of view and advance from there. This is a skill you should have in life because empathizing with others shows you have a high emotional intelligence. It makes people more willing to talk to you or confide in you or ask you for advice or just be there for you to talk to them. Um, Other orientation shows up in my own life because I believe that to fully understand someone, you can't just base it off what you think. Putting others before yourself is really a selfless act and it can go a long way in building trust and relationships with others. I attempt to prioritize other orientation when communicating with others because I learned that it opens my eyes to new ideas and perspectives. I've learned that it also really helps, especially with family members, when you try to be other oriented, because it just soothes things down, and I just learned that it helps a lot when talking to them. Now, for my examples, for self esteem, I chose Charlie Brown from the Peanuts because he really lacks self esteem. He always expects the worst from himself, and the show really clearly highlights his insecurities and doubts. Now, for confirmation skills, I used news reporters because they like using confirmation skills while interviewing other people. They do this to keep the conversation flowing and ensure accuracy between them and the other person. Now, for other oriented, I use my own experience. Once a friend was venting to me about their struggles, and I made sure to put them first. I listened to what they had to say, I put myself in their shoes, and kept the spotlight on them. And I made sure I responded with empathy. Now, in conclusion, my main takeaway from this presentation is that these concepts are used and affect people in day-to-day life. Whether it's what they believe in, what they can do, or how their speech can take a toll on their communications with others, we all have to really just deal with them. This class has affected my communication because I have learned many new concepts and skills. I try to interpret them in my daily conversations with others to create a more positive experience between them and I. This has definitely strengthened my relationships with others, especially with family members, as I just stated. Um, an insight that I want others to think about is the impact our speech has to us. It's how others perceive us and how they choose whether to trust us or not. It's what brings people together, knits them close, and creates stronger bonds. What we say aren't just words, but they all each have a sentimental value to each and every one of us. It adds perspective to what we say and why we should think before we speak. Thank you for listening.